Do you know where your bottlenecks are? Operate more efficiently, because it is possible. And until you get to that point, change is not going to happen. We are trying to put humans in front of humans, not in front of data. But the worst decision you can make is not doing something. You're looking for co-conspirators.
This is a conversation series about the people shaping the future of healthcare. These are the leaders who see opportunity where others see obstacles. Each episode highlights experts that understand the complexity of healthcare but choose to act with clarity, purpose, and optimism. We call ourselves co-conspirators because we aren't sitting around waiting for change. We are driving it. Welcome to the Co-Conspirator Track.
Dewey, welcome to the Co-Conspirator Track. I'm personally really excited to have the OG Valere co-conspirator on the pod today. So welcome.
Man, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm so happy where we are, but what you've done with this platform. Really looking forward to our discussion.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been a lot of fun talking to all of the different minds we've had on here, all the different experts. I've personally learned a lot, and I hope we've shared a little bit of that knowledge across the interwebs. But why don't you share the origin of the co-conspirator concept? We talk about it a lot internally, but why don't you share to everybody else what that means and why we came up with this name for this podcast?
So I guess it was 4 or 5 years ago. I was in the process. We weren't even Valere yet. Back then, we were Life H2H. And I had the privilege of traveling around with some folks in the industry, and I ran across Dr. Patrick McNeese, University of Alabama, Birmingham. He's got a lot of other accomplishments, but he listened to our vision. And he said, you know what you're looking for, don't you? And I was like, no. He said, you're looking for co-conspirators. And I said, explain to me what you're talking about. And he said, what you're going to do is going to change the way people do business. And for that to happen, you're going to have to surround yourself with partners, people, employees, and just people like-minded to go accomplish this type of shift that you're looking for. And so he was right. He could really stuck with me then. And as we've talked throughout our time together, this has been reinforced at Valere over and over and over again, because not everyone's ready to listen to where you need to go or what you need to do. And until you get to that point, change is not going to happen. And so you got to position yourself with people that are ready for change. And those are people that are co-conspiring with you, and they're all in with you to make this change happen, whether they're on the customer side of the business, whether they're on the technology side of the business. It could be a manufacturer, a distributor. It does not matter. Your mindset's got to be there first. And so that's where it came from. And I know we've shared that inside of our internal meetings. We did it at a staff meeting back in the spring. And I was thrilled when you came out with the Co-Conspirator Track. I think it's awesome. And the response we've gotten has been overwhelming.
That's great to hear. Yeah, no, it's funny, whenever I guess started contract a few years ago, you had mentioned this, and it was kind of part of our, you had kind of put it at the end of the slide of, hey, become a co-conspirator as part of the funnel you created. And I remember telling you, I don't know if you remember this, but saying, oh, Dewey, no one knows what that means. We got to take that off. That doesn't mean anything. And here I am naming the podcast. So I'm eating a little crow today doing that, but I'm glad it's really resonated with me, obviously. Yeah, I think it's becoming a big part of who we are as a brand. So Dewey, you have lived both sides of the HME coin now. You built and sold a regional HME company. So why don't you tell us the story about Life HME?
Yeah, so Life HME originally was out of a pharmacy HME company called Long's HME. And I bought that company from its original owner back in 2013, and then held on to it for about 8 years before we sold it. But the reason we bought it from him is because, the motivations of a pharmacy are different than the motivations of an HME. And what I mean by that is how you execute a pharmacy business is vastly different than what you want to achieve on an HME. And the complementary products and services to a pharmacy patient didn't align with the type of vision that I had for the HME company. So we were pretty strong in clinical respiratory. We did enteral as well, had a massive resupply program and did it pretty well. And along the way, we created Life H2H. And Life H2H was designed as a separate company, first and foremost, because we knew we couldn't get reimbursement for what we were going to do. So instead of embedding it inside of Life HME, we didn't know what to call it. We called it Life H2H because of hospital to home. There was this really dysfunctional space. We didn't know what we were calling it. So Life H2H is where we ended up. It was really originally established to accomplish two things: explore some software to make sense of the mess of orders that were coming in. And number two was to demonstrate the output or the outcomes of the patients that Life HME was servicing. And we did both of those pretty well. We actually produced a white paper that was able to demonstrate lower readmission, lower length of stay, all those kind of things. But all that infrastructure was created inside of Life H2H. And then, like I said, we were trying to make sense of faxes coming in and different documentation that was needed and where was all that being wrangled. And so we created a front office tool that we called Segway at the time, which is now one of our order management tools inside of our offering, but not our primary offering. So H2H is vastly different than where we are at Valere today, but that's the origin of our HME and our H2H solution that now has evolved into Valere.
So as an HME owner, what were some of the daily problems that hurt the most?
Well, that's a trick question because it was everything. It was, listen, let me make a general statement here. I've been in this industry for 30 years now. And in my 30 years, I know this, that people are doing the best they can to take care of people. And it's way too hard administratively, and regulatory strains just make it too difficult to take care of people. And so that at its core was what we were dealing with every day, whether it was documentation, whether it was compliance, whether it was education pieces, all the different things, and trying to prioritize that on a daily basis. You know, in an HME company, you wake up putting out fires and you go to bed putting out fires, and it just shouldn't be that way. And so I was fortunate enough to sit on a number of different councils and boards addressing all these different issues through the years. And I finally, one of the main reasons I sold my company was to bootstrap Valere and solve this problem for HME owners. It just should not be this difficult. When I went to other industry leaders and we talked about how do we solve this problem, again, a lot of people trying to solve it, but they're looking to solve it inside of their vertical, inside of their company's walls. And what does it do for them? And rightfully so. That's what they're charged with doing. There just wasn't an industry solution. And I said, you know what? No one's going to do this. I'm going to go do it. And so I was fortunate enough to bump into a couple of people that were a lot smarter than me, that also had some really neat ideas on how to solve this industry problem. What kept me up at night was, is there going to be an audit that comes back and tries to take all this money? We had to address that problem. Getting all the necessary documents coming in the door and making sure someone's qualified took way too long and created way too many bottlenecks in our entire process to do anything really good. And so how were we going to address that problem? And now there's new softwares coming in and new innovations, which are all great. But every time you adopt one, you basically isolate yourself from another one or have to learn a new software to go do something. How are we now creating a solution for this new problem? That interoperability between all these systems. So it was all those different fires, all those different problems that created chaos and took us away from why we were there in the first place. And that was taking care of people. The problems were not the people. I mean, you hear all the time, it's so hard to find good people. And it is, don't get me wrong, but people just want to help people. And when administrative burdens and tasks get in the way, then you have all these other issues that come to surface that really aren't the core problem. The core problem is the root cause of that frustration. It's the administrative burden, it's the rules, the guidelines, the compliance, all those different elements that are creating the problem for the people. And again, I think the people in our industry and the post-acute care space as a whole are great people just trying to take care of people. And so that's what drives us today is let's put them in that position where take that data, automate it. Let's apply some of these great new tools that we have in society and make sense of it so people can get back to taking care of people.
So you talked really a lot about your inspiration there on moving from life HME to life H2H and that market gap there, that connectivity issue, this administrative burden that's happening. We're running our software instead of the software empowering us, enabling us to run our business. What do you think makes Valere unique in trying to solve that specific problem?
We're not a single technology. First and foremost, we're multiple technologies. We're not a software solving a singular problem. The way we're different is we're a utility. We sit underneath existing softwares or existing workflows that you have, and we make that functionality easy, efficient, compliant, without you leaving where you are today. Or if you do want to invite a new innovation to your platform and to your offering, we integrate it for you so you don't have to change the way that you do business today. This idea of a one-to-many, creating a network environment where if you hook in a software that ultimately connects you to a provider, if that B2B relationship is there, was a new concept to me. I mean, out of Life H2H, I was thinking you had to build these softwares and modified softwares, but the truth is that you cannot be all things to all people, and you cannot write code fast enough to meet all the demands of an ever-changing world. So it was much more efficient for us to bring in architecture as a utility that sits underneath what you do and just facilitate everything that needs to happen. And that changed our path. Instead of solving a handful of issues for a handful of providers or manufacturers, we now have an architecture and a utility that solves the problem for all of them. And now we can deliver those solutions to one another much quicker. And so, at our core, we're a utility sitting right underneath your technologies today and driving efficiencies through them.
So at what point do I really need to start thinking about this? When do I need to start considering adopting this utility, this automation, and start integrating this into my company? At what point does it become beneficial and not just another cost?
When you ask that question, I cannot think of a reason you wouldn't do it now or at any point. Certainly if you're starting and you're new, why would you start without it? That would just make no sense to me. You got to ask yourself, what services am I going to provide? What am I interested? Where do I have the resources, the clients, the personnel to do this the right way? And then you start pulling together what that looks like. Now, we could accomplish a great deal of the intake process for you, but we're not looking to be all things to you. We're just want to help you be the best that you can be. Back to your previous question, that's what we're doing. We're not solving a problem for a company. We're just helping facilitate every aspect of the data to automate it, push it through so you don't have to. All right. So at our core. But even if I'm a business that's been around 40 years and I'm sitting on existing platforms, it makes sense to add automation to clean up the front end. We kind of put this in three different phases. All right. First of all, let's create stability. Let's bring in good information. And when we don't have it, let's go get good information. So orders going into the system have everything they need for clean claims. All right. Number one. Now let's accelerate the process. Step two, by automating some of the process. Again, if it's just data, if you have people entering data from one place to the next or responsible for a part of the process, you should be looking at eliminating that piece of the process, not the person. Get them back to taking care of people. But the data process needs to be accelerated through the entire continuum of accessing a patient, getting the referral all the way through to payment and ongoing service of the patient. We can really condense that for you. And then on the third is let's expand it. Let's grow it. Now you have the ability with clean information coming in, clean claims, accelerating, lowering that DSO. Now you have the ability, without going and getting a whole bunch more employees to make it happen, you have the ability to go grow your revenue and make it a healthier business.
You said it was just a small comment there, but it was, hey, get your people back to taking care of people, not replacing them. I think it's a heart or a mission of Valere, but and it's really a stigma around AI, around automation right now. And it's coming for jobs. We're going to get rid of people. We're going to take the human element out of healthcare. What are your thoughts on that? And, do you have a different perspective and mindset when it comes to that?
Absolutely. We're not looking to provide our utility for the purpose of replacing people. We are trying to put humans in front of humans, not in front of data. All right. So if we can bring data in, and I mentioned earlier, we need to redefine what data elements are. So back in the day, it was entry into a system, numbers, Crunchbase, all those kind of different things. Data has been redefined. And now we have these large language models, we have AI models, we have these bots, we have all these different tools, if you will, that now has the ability to go replace what we used to have to go look for and what we had to go re-enter. So now data elements can be created and automated through processes. All right. So when we talk about data elements that humans currently are messing with, or having to recreate or go find, pull in, interpret. We actually have AI that can interpret what's written somewhere now, bring it in, run against a rules engine, and then say, okay, yes, this person qualifies or they don't. So why are we asking humans to carry around this enormous dictionary of terms, all these rule sets and tables, the tribal knowledge, if you will, that used to be required in healthcare should be taken off the table. That is what is going to be redefined. And when we do, that redefines data elements that can now be automated. And so we want the people that were involved in that data processing now to become stewards of the AI, right? Or stewards of the automation, making better decisions when they need to, or telling the system what decision that needs to be made, and then allowing the vast majority of people to turn back to their patients and help that patient through their journey. That's what we want people doing. Interesting enough, we've had a couple of different scenarios that keep showing their heads with our customers. One is we actually heard the statement, I can't find enough people to go grow my business. That's a scary proposition. And so I'm here to tell you that's not needed. You don't need more people. They're there. They're just doing the wrong thing. All right. Number one. And then number two is I'm not aware of an insurance company that's going to say, let me pay you more money next year. All right. I'm not aware of an employee that says, pay me less next year. And so when you take out, and then, I think there's about as much squeezed out as the cost of goods, the acquisition, the procurement side of the business. I don't think there's any squeeze left in there. I mean, they've been challenged for decades now, and they're doing the best they can to preserve what they have. So what I just said to you is that the revenue line is not going up per patient. All right, per line item. I've told you that the cost of good is not going down. The labor expense is not going down. There's one place left to squeeze health out of your organization. And why wouldn't you do it? And it's in the automation, the processing of all those business and data elements. Mind you, I did not say referral elements. It's all business elements, whether it's your logistics system, your procurement, your financial system. It's all those pieces can be optimized. And that's what we want to help healthcare companies run better. And we know we can do it because it's just data. And we know the rules and we know the coverage criteria. We know all the different elements. We should be smarter about how we feed it through your system. And so you still need your ERP. You still need the different pieces of the puzzle that you have. How that data is getting there and how it's being utilized is what needs to be improved.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think my initial devil's advocate, and I can be not as nice to you because you're not a guest on podcasts, but I can challenge you a little bit more. I think it's overwhelming a little bit, right? You talk about automating from beginning to end your business, starting with automation as the root. Where do I start with all of this? If I want to automate my whole business, if I want to get all this administrative burden out of my overhead and I want to move my people to something more purposeful, more impactful, where do they start to just start getting your mindset of automation first, not hire somebody else first, right? Because that's the mindset. Well, I got to hire somebody. The mindset's just to, well, let's automate it. What does that automation look like?
I think the easiest place to start is, do you know where your bottlenecks are? And if you do, let's go start there. Let's clean up bottlenecks, and then we'll go to the next point. I think you got to take this thing a step at a time. And unfortunately, HME is about as complex of a post-acute care vertical as there is. So you may end up starting with some type of automation just with some data entry. It may be something a little bit more complex where there's multiple automations that need to take place. You got to start at stabilizing. And where are things not stable for you? And usually that's on the front end. So that's the popular choice. It's not always the situation. It could be on the backside. It could be in the procurement. It could be in a variety of different places. I would say 9 times out of 10, it's going to be on the front side and stabilizing and corralling all that unstructured intake. More than likely is where it is. And you may want to start with a simple automation bot, or you may need to tackle it from a broader view, which I would encourage people to do, because putting a Band-Aid on it isn't going to fix a long-term problem, although you will accomplish some efficiencies. There have been a variety of people that have come to us and suggested, here's my problem. And that's where we've started with them, because, again, as a co-conspirator, you believe that this is your problem and we're on the same page, okay? If we see the problem as something broader that we know that we can help you with, but you're not there yet, we're not going to go try to tackle that for you, because you and your team aren't going to be committed to it. But we've had a number of people already start with a problem, and now we're doing a full suite of services for them, because now they're co-conspirators. Now they see how this all works together. So I think it just depends where you are in your maturity in your business model. And then it depends on where you are in your commitment. If you're committed, you're going to get a quicker ROI. You're going to get to where you need to be a lot quicker if you look at it a little bit broader than saying, this is the problem that I have. But if that's where you want to start, and that's where you have the most people committed, that's where your ROI is going to come from.
So say someone is committed. They see that bottleneck, they see that issue, and they're like, all right, I'm in. I'm a co-conspirator. I hear you, Dewey. Let's implement this. I think there's also a stigma of this takes a long time to get something like this up and running and moving. What would that implementation look like for, let's just say, one or two workflows that they're wanting to automate?
Our strategy is very disciplined, I would say. We're not looking to go out to the entire market and sell as many as implementations as we possibly can. We're looking for co-conspirators, people committed to improving their businesses, where we're going to work side by side with them, not only for the next 30 to 90 days, depending on the complexity of their installment, but we're planning to spend years with you and continuously improve your operation. And to do that effectively, we believe it needs focus of your resources to make that happen. We're going to spend dedicated time with you, getting you up and going. So if you have a simple automation, it's going to take place 30 days on average. Okay. If you have more extensive workflows, or highly complex, we're 45 to 60 days, depending on the complexity and the depth of which we go to work with you. And I do believe that's part of the fear. Change management is a lot for a company to absorb. And the fear is, oh, I got to go learn something new. No, you don't. You don't have to learn anything new. We're going to meet you where you are. We're going to help facilitate these workflows and get the data where it needs to get. Oh, my team is got to learn something, a new way of doing it. No, you don't. You don't have to do that. What we need from you out of the gate, and this is what delays us the most, is someone putting their toe in the water. Another reason why we're looking for co-conspirators, people that understand that we're looking for a commitment to change. And when you're committed to change, that means that you are meeting together and you're routinely making progress on the implementation. And so we have had a few cases where people put their toe in the water, commit to us, and it's been 4, 5, 6 months down the road. And we've learned we're not engaged in that. The way that we do our proposals, the way we do our contracting now has changed in the first year that we're out. And it's because people have good intentions, but other things get in the way. And all that does is delay the return on investment.
In marketing, we call it the aspirational identity. But for an HME owner, and they go, okay, Dewey, I'm bought in. They adopt automation. They see a large part of their company utilize our utility, connect their systems, automate their workflows. What does their business look like a year from then? Right? What is that aspirational identity that they should be seeking?
It's hard to believe. So I want to back up to Life HME and Life H2H and my leadership team there. We kind of what we call Flintstone the process, meaning we didn't have the technology in place, but we were manually walking through the vision of what we wanted to do. We kind of flip the script, if you will. And instead of today's world bringing in automatically entering data into systems and going and getting clean data, we made that process seamless for the intake team. Okay. So we put resources on the front side. By the time the intake team got it, it was clean. It was ready to go. And all of a sudden the temperature started to lower. Why it lowered is because the chaos on the front end was mitigated. Number one. It was clean, which means our denials went way down, which means cash got to the table a lot quicker, which made everyone healthier. And the entire temperature, those fires that had to be put out every single day went away. And actually growing the business got a lot easier. And so I say this because I experienced it firsthand before we decided we were going to build this technology and automate all this. We executed on this inside of the HME utilizing Life H2H to go make that happen. Salespeople were able to go back to their referral sources and say, look how easy that was. They were able to go back to them and say, look at the patient experience and how improved it was. They were able to go back and say, look at the lower readmission rate. Look how quickly we got them out of the hospital. So it strengthened the story of our HME so much. And so I wanted to go backwards to go forward with you. So looking ahead in a year, I imagine that those fires and the temperature of your business is way down and the health is way up. I think what you're focused on is now growing a healthy company instead of trying to keep one from entering into a disastrous position. I would just encourage those HME owners to embrace the fact that it's here. It's not coming. It's here. And if you're not adopting it today, you will not be competitive tomorrow. It is that essential. This is not maybe we should consider it moment. It is time to make a decision, automate, move forward. The worst decision you can make is not making a decision. I believe wholeheartedly. It's going to be all automated, and it's going to be people taking care of people and data taking care of data. It's really that simple.
That's awesome, Dewey. Oh, I love that mindset. And you answered the next question I was going to ask, which was, what are the HME owners that want to just maintain the status quo? They just want to keep hiring to fill the gap. They don't want to adopt automation. But I think you hit it of you will be left behind. 10 years from now, everything is going to be automated because it has to be. It has to be to survive.
You may get by, but I do think that is threatened a little bit. If you can take 8 to 10 points off of operational expenditures, including labor, relative to the amount of revenue that you're bringing in. So I'm suggesting grow revenue, keep labor expenses where they are, or slightly, just not proportionally growing with your revenue. If you can't take 8 to 10 points off, it's going to be hard to make cash flow. And so I think understanding that as an HME owner, we were very successful at growing our bottom line, our cash flow, our EBITDA, because of the changes that we made. And it was a tough decision to go create Life H2H, knowing there's no reimbursement for that expense today. Right. So they're heavy decisions. I don't want to minimize the impact of these decisions, but the worst decision you can make is not doing something. You can't convince me otherwise.
So as we wrap up this conversation, Dewey, which I think has just been filled with a ton of, and I'm maybe a little biased here, but just a lot of really great stuff for HME owners. But to wrap it up, what encouragement do you have for an HME owner today? I think there is a lot of fires, there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of fear going, especially, if you talk about the competitive bid, you talk about the cuts coming up. That's what I've heard a lot, is a lot of fear. And so can we end the conversation and encouragement of, what do they have look forward to?
I've never liked the argument that our industry carries of the sky is falling. No, not us. We need to spend more time in the data demonstrating our value. And that just hasn't happened. It's happened in very small pockets. We did it with our referral sources. That worked to our benefit. But as an industry, we're not taking the right argument to the right people. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is to be able to aggregate the data and demonstrate that back. Okay, number one. But for our HME owners and operators today, I would encourage you to look at this through rosy glasses, because I really think it is a more than half full glass right now. These tools were not available a decade ago. And the chaos that exists between the accounts that you're calling on and the cash that comes in the door to pay everyone it's a difficult journey. That is going to be grossly simplified over the next, it's already being accelerated. I think it's going to happen quicker than 10 years. I think it's a 3 to 5 window that you're going to see the front to back window just really taken off the table as a complication. And the overall expenditure is going to come down, and you're going to have more opportunity than you have ever had. Understand we've got a population that's moving right into its sweet spot. For you to grow, it's your responsibility to run it the most efficient it can and the most profitable it can. And so I would just tell you, technology has changed us for the better. And instead of spending all our time trying to say, no, not me, please, oh, not another cut, demonstrate your value. And in the meantime, operate more efficiently, because it is possible.